One of our favorite sponsors is back with us, Sunset Lake CBD.
Yeah.
If you're looking for CBD that actually does what CBD is supposed to do, look no further than our friends over at Sunset Lake.
Let me break it down.
Break it down, Mel.
They're sustainably farmed, meaning they avoid pesticides and use sustainable farming practices to preserve the land for future generations. 1. 2, farm to table. They ship the CBD products straight from their door in Vermont directly to your door wherever you're at.
Now that's cool.
And third party tested. They test everything with a third party to ensure quality, dosage, and safety.
You got to go over and check out sunsetlakecbd.com. They have so many products. Break it down for them, Apple.
Well, they've got some new stuff going on. Like they always had pre-rolls, but now they got really cool packaging for it. And you can get CBD pre-roll flights of all their flavors. You can get the heavy hitter flight that also throws in some of their Keef blunts. They have a new CBD recovery body lotion.
I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other?
The other one with arnica.
The extra strength muscle rub, 3,000 milligram with 5% lidocaine.
So look,
Oh, yeah,
if you're
lidocaine.
sore, this is the stuff you want to rub on your body to make those aches and pains go away. They even have CBD infused coffee, so you can have coffee without the little jitter that you get from caffeine, and you have it in the morning and you start your day off right. Your body feels lubricated. You're going to sleep good.
Yeah, and also they have, if you kind of forget to reorder, they've got subscriptions.
And they're giving the No Simple Road family 20% off.
20% off.
Put
with
in the promo code NSR20 when you're checking out at sunsetlakecbd.com. You're going to get 20% off your entire order.
NSR 20.
And don't forget those cute little gummy bears.
That's right. sunsetlakecbd.com, one of our favorite sponsors, is back.
Hey everyone, Chris Pandolfi from the infamous String Dusters here to let you know that my podcast, Inside the Musician's Brain, is back on the airwaves for Season 4, which means it's time once again to get deep with influential musicians from all across the musical landscape to really understand and translate the lessons of success, failure, inspiration, and hard work that are behind the music and the artists that we love. My guests this season include Rachel Price from Lake Street Dives, Sam Bush, Chris Wood, Chris Funk from The Decemberists, Lindsay Liu, MC Taylor from His Golden Messenger, and more. Check us out, and thanks for listening.
We're so excited to tell you a bit about today's sponsor, Music Masters Collective. They are a nonprofit organization that produces unique music events, providing opportunities for fans and artists to meet and collaborate in an inspired and creative atmosphere.
Music Masters Collective events give you the opportunity to learn from world-class musicians like Otil Burbridge, Steve Earle, Richard Thompson, former members of the band, the Milk Carton Kids, Nikki Glaspie, the Fab Four, and Sean Colvin, and so many more.
At an event like the Milk Carton Kids Sad Song Summer Camp happening this July, you can expect immersive classes, evenings of entertainment, excellent food, and a space for a lucky group of folks to learn, co-write, workshop, and perform with like-minded peers, all with the guidance of Kenneth Pattengale, Joey Ryan, and some of their favorite songwriters. This all-inclusive week in the Catskill Mountains of upstate New York is guaranteed to be magical. Scholarships are available and spots are extremely limited, so visit www.sadsongsummercamp.com/simple to learn more. That's www.sadsongsummercamp.com/simple. Check it out.
No simple road. No simple road. No simple road. No simple road.
Osiris.
Hi, my name is Tim Wheaton. I'm the host of the Daddy Unscripted podcast. No, it's not just me talking with dads about being dads, and it's not just for dads, that's for sure. What it is a varied spectrum of inspiring stories and emotional tales from a wide range of guests that come from the world of sports, of music, and even the guy that lives down the street from you. Not that guy, but the other guy. Yeah, that one. I can pretty much guarantee you're going to get something out of every episode. So come check out the Daddy Unscripted podcast.
That's the perfect beginning to this episode. Yep. Hey now, No Simple Road family. How y'all doing out there? Not a normal No Simple Road this week, as Melanie is so fond of me saying. This episode is dedicated to my dad.
This is No Simple Road.
Yeah.
The pure meaning.
You know, earlier Aaron and I were sitting downstairs and he was like, you know, we got to do this, bring this episode out of the one that we're going to bring you next week. And we'll talk about my dad later. And I was like, count me out.
Can't do it.
I literally said that. I was like, I can't fake it. Like, you guys, we started out the show with Aaron, like, bearing his soul about his deepest, like, darkest, most embarrassing things, you know, being a drug addict and being homeless and having to, you know, getting kicked out and all these things. And then to try to put on a face at this stage of the game, 100 and something episodes in, just, I can't do it.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was just like, I just felt like we have a duty to get it out. And so and I completely agree with you. Once you said that, I was like, you know what? The show is us and this is what's going on. So,
And we're not going to fake it and not be truthful.
No.
And deal with what's
I
right in front of
can't.
us.
no.
I have such a hard time. Like, I've been really emotional lately, period, because the topic of death came up earlier this week with a neighbor of ours, and she didn't pass away, but she's getting older, and anyway, she's having some Alzheimer issues, and to see somebody decline like that just really made me sad, because I was thinking about you and me, you know, as like these couples, their name is Nancy and David, and they've been together for years and years, you know, and so seeing that, losing your partner or the potential of losing your partner in any capacity is a debilitating thought.
Yeah. And just for those of you that don't know what's going on, this morning, it's Sunday the 29th right now.
December 29th.
This morning at 3:00, my dad graduated.
I like that.
He
I
passed
like
on.
that. He graduated.
He did.
Aaron got a call 3:30 this morning that his dad has left this plane, and
Jerry left the building.
yeah, Jerry left the building, and this episode is kind of a memorial to him. We interviewed him a while ago, which was awesome. Man has so many stories, so many things he's done in his life, and just means so much to all of us that this is what we have to do today. This is good for us. This is good for you guys. This is good for Jerry.
Yeah.
This is, you know.
I said that part of this on the Instagram post, but like, for you guys that haven't heard the episode with the interview with him, everything that I know about the music business, show business, entertainment, people, creativity, all of that I got from him. My dad never ever had a 9-to-5 job my whole life. He was a writer and a producer and a director and wrote scripts and did Vegas shows. And
one of my favorites was he was the fastest draw in the
Quick
world.
draw.
He was a quick draw at one time. I mean, who can say that?
Yeah.
Just
interesting,
man.
Tying it into the Grateful Dead, like he ghost wrote songs for a lot of prominent artists back in the day, and the story is that he wrote El Paso and ghost wrote it for Marty Robbins.
Yeah.
And so now every time I hear, well, even before this, every time I heard that song, it was about my dad. But
Yeah, every time we're at a concert and that song comes up, we all look at each other and just like, that's it. And that's why Autzen was so special too, because El Paso came on and we had Sydney there and all of us and our big posse for the first time of No Simple Road. And it was like he was there too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, like being beside you, getting that phone call, like I felt the energy too. Like it was,
I knew it. As soon as the phone rang.
You don't, there's certain times that you
don't call at 3 o'clock in the morning to say, hey, what's up, man?
Unfortunately, when you get to be our age too, that those call, I'm 50, you're approaching 50. When you get a call at 3:30 in the morning, it's
it's either a butt dial or something's wrong.
Yeah. And
or one of your friends is spun at a concert.
Okay, maybe New Year's Eve it wouldn't be so weird. But it's just weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It's here's the thing, like it's really, really awesome on one hand, and then on the other hand, it's really hard and painful, like viscerally, tangibly in my body. I could.
My heart hurts.
Yeah,
my chest, my ribs, my
like literal
sternum.
chest pains.
Yeah.
Your heart is sore, but on the flip side of that, he was not having a great time the past few months.
Yeah.
And it's good that that's not happening anymore. and
that he's not, like you said, one of the is to go in a hospital or so. None of us want that.
Dude,
and
he was a tough old stuntman Hollywood guy, and I would say if he had a biggest fear or a phobia, it was doctors and needles and being prodded and poked. Mm-hmm. And he like made me promise a couple of times ago when I saw him, he was like, no matter what happens, don't ever let them put me in a home or do that shit to me. And I was like, Dad, I won't. And so he went in his bed at home, asleep, with his wife there. And man, he made love to beautiful women. He had money over and over again and lost it over and over again. He traveled the world. He met the biggest stars. He had 5 wives. 6 sons.
He lived large.
He
always did. Very large,
lived
generous
in fucking
heart.
Beverly Hills. He had people that adored him and notoriety and all the things that people strive for in life. And
he had the alternative too.
Yeah,
like
he had the flip
somebody
side.
with that many blessings and to be living 86 or 85 years, you earn a lot of those things, but you have to see, like, he was really always sad about seeing so many of his friends pass away before him. That was something that was really hard for him to deal with. And he would say, I used to be Mr. Who's Who, now I'm Mr. Who's He. And it's not so, you know. Like,
that stuff doesn't go away. It lasts.
No, and like when people feel like that, whether they're exaggerating or being silly or truly feel like that, like, that hurts to know somebody feels that way. You know what I mean?
About
like,
themselves.
Yeah. And along
because
with,
none of us felt that. That was a
no, and I think that it comes from like not having the recognition that you feel like you deserved. And I don't know if it has to do with accolades or not, but like, I don't know. I think he felt like after everything that he did to help Vegas and build Las Vegas shows and all that.
That he should have gotten.
That something should have been more than it was. But that's life, man.
Well, I love that. You guys will hear this. You haven't heard this. That in this interview, he talks about that. And that was one thing that was really cool in this, where he was talking about he was always thinking about the next thing. And he didn't have next things right now at this point in life.
That was hard.
So that was
him.
really, really tough to not have, what do you say, like irons in the fire of things that were coming to fruition and working on.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of you out there that have dealt with this already, and those of you that are going to deal with it or are in the midst, and it was a trip for me this morning, like right after I was telling Mel this earlier today. The first thing that I noticed today was that it really brought into super sharp focus in my mind the things that I got from him personally, like who I am.
Like traits, things passed on.
Like big time. It really brought it into focus. And you guys are always joking with me, like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, haha, And I caught myself 100 times today doing stuff that was like, oh shit, that's from him. Oh shit, that's from him. Oh shit, like laughing with Mel this morning, farting in the room. Like that's from my dad. My dad taught me farts were funny when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like that, my love of coffee that came from my dad. Just a million little ticks and preferences and things.
Your dad was the first man, I think even person for that matter, who taught me that you can make a living not going to work. Like I had never seen that before in my life. That was not an example that I had of somebody using their creativity to make money. And he taught me that anything was possible. Like he taught me about manifestation without saying it was manifestation, and
he just did it.
Yeah. And there was always in question whether he was telling the truth or not. And I think really, instead of thinking about it that way, because it changed my perspective, it's like he's a storyteller, for goodness sakes. Like, you don't just tell the facts when you're a storyteller. Your mind doesn't think that way. Like, you don't wear white and black. You wear blue and yellow and green and fuzzy freaking feather hats. And like, that's how his mind was. He wrote morning, noon, and night,
Yeah.
He was always so busy with thoughts pouring out all the time. And I don't know, I don't know. I don't.
Well, he was a great storyteller, and then there's a difference with that too. Like a storyteller,
as opposed
embellishing, like painting a prettier picture. That's not a lot of people can do that, and there was never a lack of things. That's one thing I always loved about him. There was knowing Aaron from a young age, since knowing your dad, since I was 14. There was never a dull moment with him. He was never like a downer.
No.
He was always like kind of the life of the party, and there's always things going on, and
always something coming.
Yeah, to me, like this morning, I had told Aaron, it hit me. I just turned on the TV after taking a shower, and Woody Allen was on, which is kind of just reminded that corny kind of humor, and I realized I wasn't going to hear another Jerry joke. He always had. Every time I saw him, he had at least 2-3 jokes in his pocket of ones that and like those jokes that take like 3 to 5 minutes to tell, where you're just sitting there, it's going to be worth it, but it takes
ultimate dad joke.
Oh man,
yeah, man,
he was always so good at that, and I'll always remember on my end, just from a young age, because I've always been very open about smoking pot. Every time he'd see me still smoking that goddamn marijuana apple, I'd be like, "Yep." And he'd be like, all right.
Yeah. Like he tried to play it off like, oh, I smoked a marijuana cigarette once when I was young. Bullshit, man. You know what? Him and my mom used to get baked. I remember those two were chiefing it up. So
your mom
he was always so against it.
Don't try and front.
And your mom's like open about it.
Yeah.
It's like, psh.
But it also did something else too. Like
Did a lot.
as soon as it ain't done doing stuff. But,
No, it ain't.
Oh, no,
This is we're
Yeah.
12 hours into this ride. You think about losing a parent and the magnitude of what that means and the emotional impact that has. One of the first thoughts that went through my head, honest to God, was, what about the show? I'm not going to be able to do the show today. And then I felt guilty for feeling like that. And then I felt silly. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck that. My dad would be like, what's your fucking problem?
I was when you said that reminded me of your dad when you said the show must go on, because that's exactly what he would have said. No matter what, doing shows his whole life, be like, the show must go on.
He had energy for everything. Like anything that he would think of, he had energy to do it. And like your dad was not a small guy. Why are you laughing?
It's true.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I just think about that because I remember, I mean, there was a period of time for 10 years almost, I think it might have been 9, that we got to live literally around the corner from your dad. And that's when Simon was first born. He like took Simon home from the hospital in his Lincoln Navigator because Aaron and I didn't have a car that was suitable for the baby yet.
Yeah.
We had a 2-seater truck. And so he came to the hospital and took us all home. And there's a picture of
Little
him holding Simon.
newborn baby.
Mhm.
He was that.
He was always there, is my point.
That situation was the best possible situation. Like living around the corner from grandpa and have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, Sydney just called. So, hi, baby.
Hi.
How are you?
How was your day today?
I had a pretty good day. I was having a rough morning and I already had some fun stuff planned and I thought that it would be good to do something happy and cute with a lot of friends and stuff. But I didn't want to
What a good idea.
talk about it.
Yeah, it's hard. Mom and I, after we talked to you earlier today, we were like, it's tough to be sad with that baby around.
But you made plans with your friends so you could kind of dance it out and play it out, and so you don't have to keep that energy in.
Yeah, but it's also, the baby definitely has. I think it's like he doesn't understand, but he has even more of an understanding.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
In a
They
weird
feel
way.
it. They feel it.
How was
so
he
open.
responding to you?
How's he responding to me?
Yeah, like how'd you know? Like how'd you feel it? What was he doing?
Well, I was in bed with Adam and I was crying a little bit, and he like was closer to Adam and he like looked over to me and pointed at me and like started laughing.
Oh.
And he doesn't really point or anything. Like, I mean, he does, but like
I was
he
gonna say I
was,
beg
like,
to
right
differ.
Well,
but he was just like sharing a smile and like kind of doing the opposite of what I wanted to do.
yeah.
He was doing what you needed, not what you wanted.
Yeah.
You know, Sid, we were talking before we started recording, and like, what a perfect way to remember Grandpa to do the show. Because it wouldn't even be here without him. This wouldn't even be happening.
I know, and that's why I wanted to do what I had planned today, because it was all for that party that I'm throwing. But it's just like, it has like so much to do with him and all of the stories that he's told and all like the life that he's like created, showed me, and like just it's such a part of me, and it's crazy to see that. Like when I step back and see what I'm doing and the things that make me happy, and it's just because I was just growing up with him telling me things that he did and the things that was possible, and that was just like what was in my head.
And he believes so much in everybody.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I realized, like, before we sat down to start recording, I was like, I got to take a shower and get it together. And I'm in the shower and I was just thinking, like, but he's not ever going to be gone, ever, because I'm still here and I'm from him. And then I said that to him. I said, Mom,
Buzzy, because like me and Simon were laying down earlier on his bed and like I was holding him and I was like remembering Grandpa. Like it felt like we were all together and it was just me and Simon. And like, I just remember being with you guys, me and you and Simon would just go walk over to Grandpa's and visit. And it was like when with Simon, because he was always there. He had to be there. He was little. Being with him like brings him around. Like it makes it feel like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're doing, like I even said it to you the other day. I was like, Sid, you realize you're totally grandpaing it out right now, don't you?
I know. You
With
just
your-
said that the other day.
your little director's chair and little director's megaphone that Dan got you for Christmas, like that's the stuff that made him the most proud. Was seeing all of us like following in his footsteps and doing what made us happy instead of what we thought we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because he never did that.
It's so weird how like everybody deals with death in different ways. Like there's no right way to deal with it. Whether it's like you don't cry and like you try to stay strong, or you're just like a mess or whatever. But I know that like I feel so much like stronger that if somebody else died, because he's such a strong person.
Yeah.
And there's just little things that really do make me sad that I thought about him, that that's the stuff that I'm going to try to cry and like get out now, because I don't want that to be like memories that I hold on to. But he was very lonely.
Yeah. That's
All he wanted to do was just like, he just wanted to work. He just wanted to continue to work and be useful, and like I just see so much of myself in him sometimes. That's why I like some of the things that I'm trying to just get out now, and like those aren't like bad thoughts to think.
Yeah.
But
it's all of it.
I want like the fun, good times and the inspirations that he's had.
It's all of it. That's the
me and Dad have
totality.
been like crying and laughing all day, like just driving, and then I'm thinking about like I can't call him, I used to call him and he'd be like, "Hi baby, what are you doing? Thank you so much for calling." And then we'd have these like silly conversations, or I'd listen to him complain for 30 minutes or I'd hear a story that he told me 20 times, or like, but it's something going back to what you said. Like I realized earlier, like his light was so big. It took up a lot of space in this atmosphere, and I don't feel like it's gone, but just his body is gone and I miss it.
Yeah.
I miss hugging him
because
and the Malachich,
That's what Sydney was saying. Like everybody deals with it differently, and just sitting there today after I hung up the phone this morning, I had so many emotions at the same time. There was so many things that came into my head, like, wow, he graduated. Wow, he finally gave up his body and got to go and be wherever he wanted to be. And then I was like, well, fuck, but I'm going to miss him. I can't call him. And then, like, all the things that I never said that I should have.
yeah.
all of it. It's just a lot. It's a lot to process and to know, like, no, but there's no rule book to how to deal with it. You just got to feel it and
talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you called, baby, because me and Simon, at least we got to go to breakfast and, you know, we got to cuddle and stuff. But, like, I just know that he made me so proud that you had a grandpa like that. And, like,
that's
all
right.
of he healed stuff in me that was so broken because of my childhood. And, like, being able to see you have an awesome grandpa and an awesome dad and, like, great uncle, like, to me that was, like, my dream come true, you know. And he's, like, he was responsible for that. Like, he was always cheering you guys on, and he was always, like, anytime he got money, he would give us money. Anytime we would go to breakfast, he would pay for it and insist. And, like, he just, there was so many things that he was, and that's the light that I feel is gone. That's the one, you know what I mean? Not like the beautiful stuff that he gave the world, but, like, his own, the one that, those hugs and his cute shorts and his little and everyone knows what I mean. Like,
I get the picture.
Well, he was such
on
a
Instagram.
right,
Has the cute shorts.
right before Sydney called. Sydney, we were talking, like, he lived so large. He was a large man. He had a large heart. He lived so large. I remember when we were kids, meeting up till, like, probably almost out of high school, I thought, and well, we still don't know, that he's like a mafia boss, like, so generous, like, didn't work, had his office upstairs at that house that was gigantic,
a bitchin' pad.
was always meeting with people, that was always kind of like hush hush.
Yeah.
He had so many
Cool
friends
people.
in law enforcement and not in law enforcement and other things. He
We'll
was,
never
I mean,
know.
Very
he
true.
he lived more than most people ever do.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that man did, and just the generosity and the kindness and the belief. And
One thing I know for sure is that we can all be proud of him.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
Because he left a legacy. He's
yeah,
all of him being, like, a large man with a large heart and just so special and has so many friends and just all of that. He's a really, really special person. And I see him in so many of us. Like, I see him in all of us in different ways.
yeah.
And it's so special. Like, it's so good to see, like, the little things that really resonated with certain people that he gave to them. And
Yeah.
just, like,
And the thing that
I don't know,
does for me, and I think that the reason that we see that when somebody passes away is so that we can realize the way that we do that for other people ourselves, because there's things that you're giving to Jasper and
To the
world and us to you, and that stuff I was just saying before you called, like, that kind of stuff really came into focus for me today, the ways that he made me who I am. And it's how somebody lives on after they're gone. The people, the lives that you touch, and the things that you do for people, and good, bad, ugly, indifferent, all of it, not just the good shit. And you know what, Sid? All the stuff, the bad stuff, him being lonely and, you know, I'm living the torments of the damned and all that stuff that he would complain about. And that was his road. That was his part of his karma and his thing that he had to deal with. And none of us could do that for him. And
yeah.
and he's not in that anymore. And that, like, if there's comfort in losing him for me, that's part of it. It's like, I don't have to think about him being alone and not feeling good and
Not being able to, like, go as
come
much
to your
as,
wedding,
yeah.
you know?
We talked about that today too. Like, when we went to see Grandpa, the day of your wedding, after we went to the spa, like, it had nothing to do with him not wanting to come to the wedding. I saw
He couldn't
clearly
do it. Yeah.
why he wasn't going. And he was really proud in a lot of ways. And so he would make things sound like, I'm not going, like, but really
Burping and farting,
it was
breathing my
because
hair.
he didn't want to admit that he literally couldn't make it. Like, it would have been much of us physical stress. Like, he could not do it. And he just loved you and your brother so freaking much, and was such and is such an amazing grandpa, like, and dad to me, that I can't even, like, I don't know.
And it's good. It's all good.
I'm sorry, I keep crying.
It is all
sorry.
good.
Okay, here's a little interjection. Bren, just, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but she said she's just sitting at home. She loves all of us. And she is sitting there painting a beautiful picture in her mind of Jerry hanging out with Ram Dass chilling.
That right there. I don't know if I talked about this when we talked to him, but like, that's one of my first memories as a kid.
Shit. Oh, fuck. Sorry, guys. I just spilled some extreme.
One of my first memories as a kid is going to the Self-Realization Center in Malibu with my dad and learning about meditation as like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old.
Which that's how I found out about the Self-Realization Center, because your dad would tell me the story of when he would take you. And then when Sydney moved there, she was like, oh, let's go to the Self-Realization Center. And we had gone to the Self-Realization Center. So
that place, dude, when I was on tour with the Dead, that was like the spot to like go recuperate.
Yeah.
And he really like, he showed me that there was something more than just the physical, and that it didn't have to be Judaism or Christianity or whatever. It could be whatever the hell I wanted it to be. And that's a huge gift from a parent.
It's like freeing up your mind, it's not binding it. It's like sometimes these traditions that are meant to be beautiful and ritualistic end up like cramping your style and crippling you. And he was so free with his mind that he like gave that to people, that same kind of a freedom that you can make things up and it sounds so true and it is an alternate reality. And he gave the ability that if he was telling the truth, the God's honest truth, you couldn't believe him. You felt like he was lying. It was both.
No, really, the sky is blue and you're like, what?
What are you saying, Dad?
Oh man.
He was a definite magician too. Just how he would speak things into reality, like him saying that he wanted to put a show on, and then how he had that meeting with he didn't even have a meeting. He just had a random lunch because they used to fit two random people together. He had a random lunch with the biggest choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, what do you do? And this guy was like, I'm the biggest choreographer. And it was just like he spoke it into reality. And he ended up working with him. And it was just like normal at that point for him to be doing things that he wanted. Like, that's like such a magical thing to be able to do.
And he never called it that either.
Mm-mm.
He wasn't woo-woo.
We called it work.
Yeah.
yeah. He definitely was not of that.
Yeah,
it's just like you do it, you make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you can do it.
I remember him saying, I had so much fucking money, Aaron. I had an entire dresser in my bedroom filled with cash. I couldn't spend it all because I worked for the hotel and they wouldn't let me pay for anything. So I just had drawers and drawers of cash. And I'm like, that's not a magician. Damn. Yeah, man. He's something else.
He really is.
And it's still like
Sid,
12 hours.
And maybe we could do this, but like, what's one of your biggest memories of Grandpa?
Well, definitely when Apple was mentioning his office and stuff, I remember those were some of my first, like, memories that I had, like, of feeling like I was, like, super special, like, going up the, like, round
Yeah, the spiral staircase.
and yeah, seeing all, like, the framed pictures, and I was, like, stoked that I knew him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm going up these stairs. Like, I'm going to go hang out with him. And they have a way of making everybody feel really special. Like how just the stories that he would share, and just there's so many memories that come to mind. Just going to Blueberry Hill all the time.
Yep.
The funky little diner in
And
Vegas.
Yeah, the way he would talk to the ladies, and it was so not nice, and they fucking loved him still.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was
How you doing,
definitely
sweetheart?
very
Yeah.
crass.
Yeah. They were buying him
Yeah.
cats and giving him shit. And
He really was magic. He drew people to him. Like people like would like be drawn when they saw him, and he knew everyone's name and what they did for a living.
Oh yeah,
Like that,
a great memory.
right?
He's like the last time I saw him, like telling us a new story and a new thing, and working on a new project, and having like just like like everyday people in their like 20s and 30s don't even have that strength.
I know.
yeah.
And here he is
know.
living like a crazy life with thousands of people that come in and out of it, and he just makes like such a difference to
Yeah,
people.
he did.
And I think that's why he remembered them, because like they let him know too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember as a kid, I might have been in second grade or first grade. Yeah, second grade. He had a motorcycle, and we would ride the motorcycle down the hill, and the ocean was right there. And like, you know, when the sun is reflecting on the water,
Yeah.
he'd be like, "That's our diamonds. Always remember that."
Wow. So well, here I'll break everybody's tearing up. This will make me tear up. One thing I always loved about your dad, and one thing that he did for me that no other parent ever did, is not be a fucking parent. To me,
Yeah.
he was different than that. He became a friend to me at a young age, and he would give me advice of like things like just pride, like standing up straight or pull your fucking pants. That shit. I cannot wear a hat backwards to this fucking day because of Jerry. Because I used to do that when we were younger, when we would work for him filming stuff, and he'd be like, "Turn that fucking hat around."
You look like a gangbanger.
Yeah, you look like a gangbanger, Jimmy. You're not friend. That's one thing I love too. He rarely called me Apple. He always called me Jimmy. And not a lot of people in my life call me anything other than Apple, which doesn't bother me. But from him, I loved him calling me Jimmy. And the other thing too, which Aaron's gonna laugh at this because it's true. A lot of people, my parents or your parent, would blame each other's fuck ups on me or you, like the other one.
Yeah.
Your dad always, he's like, "Oh, I know Aaron's just as big a fuck up as you, if not worse." Fucking, I ain't blaming nothing on you. You two guys fuck up together. And he's all, "But at least you got each other and you got each other's back." And your dad always believed that with me. Even just, I think the last time I talked to him, which was like a month ago when we were all talking, He's like, "Aaron's so lucky to have a friend like you. You guys have been together your whole lives, and I've always, you know, your dad always recognized that. He made me. He's just one of those people that makes you aspire to be a better person and to stand up straighter in his presence, and then carry that on away from his presence."
He would frequently tell me that Apple is such a sweetheart of a man. He is so good for Aaron. He's been such a good friend to you guys.
He really did teach me.
He recognized it. You know what I mean? Like,
And I've always saw that from a young age when a lot of parents, most parents don't. They're always analyzing.
That kid's no good.
No, he was a friend. I always looked forward to going. And I loved going over to that house and hanging out at the office and going to the pool parties and smoking short Hemingway cigars with him. And he treated me as a friend. He was a true friend.
Yep. Yeah, that was like what I was going to say. That's one of the things that he showed me was how to be a friend to people. And that's huge because not everybody knows how to do that. And
Yeah.
it's a big lesson for people in their life. And for me, it was gigantic. And watching him with his business relationships, which quickly became his personal friendships, it was always commingled and the same. And he wasn't a hippie or a deadhead or anything like that, but that was family to him, was his friends. And that's where I got that, you know?
Yeah. Sense of like community.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal.
But he was, like we were all just kind of saying in the same way, he was not a highly religious, spiritual,
No,
anything.
not
It
at
was
all.
just the way he lived. It was in him. He
He-
didn't put a genre or a label on it.
it was through action.
Yeah.
He was old school that way. He
That's-
woke up early and his
Hard
word
work,
was his
do unto
yep,
others.
his word was gold, and you'd fucking look decent all the time. Like that was one thing with your dad that like it reminds me of my mom. Like his shirts were always ironed. He didn't have holy socks. If he wore a t-shirt, it was pressed. He
Yeah.
always had a belt on. He was always freshly shaven.
Tucked in with suspenders.
Yep, cute fucking style.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
So cute, wearing bright yellow and
Yeah, he was a
a
badass.
cutie pie.
he was so cute. What his little I said earlier before you came on said
I
his
mean,
little-
he could have been Santa.
he could have what?
Been Santa.
Mom said
Oh,
that
yeah.
earlier today. She said he had that twinkle in his eyes, and I was like, yeah, but he didn't really like kids all that much.
No, but that's how I feel Santa would actually be. He'd be like, "Oh,
You fucking kid.
Yeah,
Oh my
sounded a
God.
little cranky.
You know, to be listening to a podcast where we're doing what we're doing right now. I know it's weird, but you know what, man?
It's real.
It's real. And when I thought about this earlier today, I heard my dad go, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Get up and do your thing." And so that's why I'm doing this for him.
it's
This
good.
is-
And then
this is
being
good for
able
all
to
of us.
listen to the podcast that you guys did with him is like, it really is an end of an era. Everybody deals with stress. It's good for people to hear other people say special things, and as a group, as a family, and have like a really deep remembrance of somebody. And maybe, hopefully, people can, within their families, talk about things and like have like deep forgivenesses and do something similar. Like it can be weird, but I think it's way more special. And having the opportunity to hear his voice in a previous episode is so special.
I was thinking about that today. I was like, wow, that's like a time capsule. Like,
what he has taught you how to do and what we're all doing together is the legacy. He created his own movies from his own mind, and he had all these sons, and they all gained these amazing things from him. Successful, very intelligent businessmen who've had beautiful children that have grown up to do wonderful things, and he like passed on his hymness.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now what we're going to be able to reflect back on, whether it's in one day, 1 year, 1 month, 1 lifetime, is everything that he gave to us, and we put it in something, and like get to share it with the world. That
So that's like spreading his ashes on the wind.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like taking his things that he gifted me and sharing it with the family that's listening so that they can use that stuff.
Because that was grandpa. Like,
Yeah, man.
he was the epitome of what every grandpa should be.
He smelled like cigars. He cursed all the
Cute.
time.
Son, very inappropriate.
Yep. Little bit racist.
So loving.
No apologies.
No apologies.
No apologies for being who he was.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is that he was so himself. Like,
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He did not give
I
a
love
shit.
people like that.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
two very
that's how most people want to be and just never can. It's
Oh yeah, yeah. I fully identify with somebody who wants to be like that, and I can't achieve that. I'm getting closer, but I always think of like him or Lela, and like they won't change their personality if like a certain person walks in the room.
You have
No.
been.
yeah, I better watch what I say in front of this person that I don't care about.
Yeah.
He would say, fuck him.
Yep.
Fuck him. Who cares?
There's that.
That's my
dick.
mom would say the same
Yeah.
thing. And you, Sid, are very fortunate to have had two very strong personalities that has not only shown you an example, but is teaching you how to bring that out in yourself. I'm still learning too.
Yeah, I remember one of my favorite memories now
What?
of when we were in the parking lot of a Boulevard Mall in the summer, week after week, and he taught me how to drive in the summer.
Oh,
Sydney learned how to drive in a
I was
Humvee.
thinking, don't worry about it. You can just run over everything.
Oh, Sid.
That's
It
That's
was so
sweet.
special, just like a one-on-one time, and he was such a good teacher, and he was so patient. And I just remember him loving that it was him who taught me how to drive, and it was him who made me comfortable. Like,
He was so proud of that.
he loved that.
that's so true.
He
He
would
loved you
remind me.
so much. Like, he loved me and you so much. Like, there's
Like
a
I
lot.
did.
There's a lot of things that I could doubt in this world. You know, like, oh, maybe, I don't know, but like, he loved us so hard and so completely, and he was so grateful to mine and his personal visits when we would go have coffee, and he would just be so thankful. And then when you would go visit, like, he just knew how to make people feel so personally special, and I aspire to that.
Yeah.
That's something that's important to me that I took from him, that I just want people to know that, not even like in a false sense, like when you're really yourself with somebody, like then they can be themselves.
Yeah.
And you're teaching by doing nothing. You're teaching by being authentic. Like, and that's what he was like. He was an inspiration, like as a symptom, or not as a like a side benefit
Yeah.
of being with him.
There's certain people that come into the world that like I was saying to Mom earlier, said you can't say about Grandpa, well, he worked for the same company for 40 years. He retired. he fished. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's cute.
But there's certain
Yeah.
people that come into this world that like light a fire in it. And they cause brush fires all around them with the people that are in their lives. And that's who we are, is those brush fires that caught from him. And now we got to burn bright and spread our fire around so that he lives on through everything that we do. Everything that you're doing down there is the shit that would make him the most happy, the most proud, the most excited,
Yep.
the most everything, and the most him. And
Yeah.
so by you doing what you're doing is like homage.
Yeah.
He loved show business.
Yes,
that
he
was
did.
his thing. He was show business.
Yeah.
Yep. And he also didn't personally want any part of it. It was all about his work. Like, he poured his work into it, but he didn't want to be in the limelight. He didn't want to be at the parties, yet he threw them. You know, like he would always, that was his thing. Like in a,
fuck,
it was
man?
so weird in a personal sense.
So
he never
fucking
wanted the
weird.
attention, yet he always got it. Like, and went after it.
Oh no, no,
Yes.
stop, don't. Yeah, stop it some more.
Oh, I'm glad you're all here. I got to go to bed now.
Yep, that's him. That was him.
That sounds like somebody else a little bit too
I
sometimes.
don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, you are so much like him.
I'm
and
good with that.
Well, I'll tell you. Well, one thing that I saw that we all saw that he was. They say all parents have that unconditional love, but he really fucking did
Yeah, he did.
with you boys.
Oh yeah, we
You
were
got-
total assholes.
Oh yeah, you guys were such dicks
Fucktards.
growing up,
Yeah.
and the shitty things you did, lie, cheat, steal. And
Literally.
and he was always fucking there.
Yeah,
Always
he
fucking
never
there.
he never turned his back on me.
No.
I remember being homeless and being dope sick, and going to his house and knocking on the door and being like, "I'm dope sick, Dad. Can I have some money?" And he gave me money to go get well because he didn't want me to suffer.
Yeah.
Like, that's brutally, radically loving
Even-
somebody through their shit. And some people will say, "Well, that's enabling you," and
No.
fuck you,
That's
fuck
standing
that.
by your
That's
kid,
that's having my
doing-
back and
yeah.
making sure that I'm not going to die on the street.
And
robbing
with him, I'm
somebody.
sure you know, there was damn well a lesson later about that too.
Oh, dude, I
Wasn't
heard about it
not
for
a free
20 years
handout. Yeah, it wasn't a free handout like just get out of my hair. It was like, okay, I'm gonna take care, but
Yeah.
you got some shit to learn.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that I'm most proud of, and like, whew, about with him is that he got to see me get well,
Yeah.
and raise a
Yeah.
and
He was so proud of you.
You got to see you become a grandpa.
He was so proud because last time
You got- I mean,
I was there, I was like, Grandpa, because I'd call him Dad and I'd call him Grandpa interchangeably, you know, and I'm like, your son is really doing amazing out in Portland. And this is when we just got to spend time by ourselves. And he's like, I know, baby. I love you guys so much. I'm so proud of you guys.
yeah, it's cool to know that like he got to see the fruition of his radical, unconditional love and what it did.
His parenting knew no bounds.
No, he didn't do it right all the time. He blew it, and I blew it, but it was just like, okay, we're still here. I'm still your dad. What? Let's go to breakfast. Like, I'm really, really happy. It makes me really happy to know that he got to see Sydney and Simon grow up into the people that they are,
And you
and
get to see,
he got to see
know that you were married and meet Jasper.
Yep, and to know that No Simple Road is a thing.
I'm sorry.
And then,
I just laugh because I remember him saying a couple of times, like joking with me, and he said it to you too. It's like, because he loved Melanie so much, and he's like, well, at least the fucker did one thing right. like, oh, there's Mel. At least he did one thing right, and he meant it, but he didn't. It was his manner.
yeah, no, I don't take that.
That just popped in my head like these little things. And then the other thing too, man, which makes me want to cry. But I remember and he didn't get mad. The only time he ever he got pissed at me was that 4th of July party when me and
You
Martin,
got too drunk.
me and
Oh,
Martin
yeah.
were jumping off the roof, and I stand there barbecuing, and I splashed the whole barbecue. Put out his cigar that he had in his mouth, and it put out the barbecue that he was cooking steaks on. And he didn't even say a damn thing to me.
He called me
you
and told me,
and
"Come
said,
get your-"
"Come get Apple out of my fucking house." The kid's gotten a little too carried away.
Yeah, he put up with a lot of shit, dude. With 5 boys, 5 and then one off doing his own thing. We were a total nightmare. We were just wild men.
And he loved you guys so much. The way that he would talk about Martin, like he like deified Martin, like when he would speak about him, and he did the same thing with Marianne, and he did the same thing with his mom. Like as much as he would say horrible things about people and about those same people,
Yeah.
he would say the most beautiful, prolific things about them. And it made me realize that no matter what the person was, he loved them. Like he saw all
the
of it
whole.
and he loved it anyway.
Yeah, he
Like
could see the whole thing, and
Yeah, there wasn't like, oh, well, she's a bitch secretly. Like, no, he's like, she's a bitch, and I love her just the same way as I love him, and he's not.
That's a huge deal.
He, like, the more I think about it, it really is those deep-seated, like, old school, like, good moral compass things. It's like being a good person, not making people feel bad for who they are, allowing people to make mistakes and live their life, teaching people and being proud of it, and like being creative, like all of these things that have nothing to do with race, politics, religion, none of that. It doesn't have to do with any of it. All it has to do with is helping people feel loved and be seen and embetterment. That is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. I
love you guys.
I love you
I
too,
love you
Sid.
too, sweetheart. Do you have anything else to say before you hang up, sweetie pie?
I'm so thankful that I got to see him with Jasper that last time I was there, and
Me too.
I love making him happy.
Yeah.
Like, it gets me so excited to just get on the phone with him and hear his like relief and his excitement, and he's just a special man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Light a
And
candle
I'm
for
gonna
him.
keep on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep on being sad and happy. I'm sure.
Yep. That's the way this goes.
That's right.
That's for sure.
And I'll be out there
I
soon
don't
to give you some
have
love,
to,
and
but-
we can laugh and cry together.
But after you were just saying the stuff about Martin and Marianne, I'm really glad that he could be with them.
Yeah.
They love Marianne so much. So when she died, that was one of the hardest things for me to see.
Yeah.
My
that was-
first time being around death, and then someone who was grieving so hard, somebody that I loved so much, grieving like that. It was a really big lesson for me to learn. And it's really good to see that this is how we're dealing with it. And it's so special and so beautiful. And, he can be with them.
Yeah. That's so true. He loved Martin and Marianne so much.
I know he did
Jesus.
anything and everything for them.
Yeah.
He literally
they
till the
literally
end.
till the end of the trail for both of them. I love you, Sid.
I love you, baby.
I love you guys.
We'll
Love
call
you,
I can't wait
Sid.
to see you.
We'll call you tomorrow, okay?
Give Jasper some love.
Okay.
Go play with that cute baby.
Yeah. Can't be sad with Jasper around.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
He'll point at
Sid,
you.
before you hang up, because it's one thing we're just going to mention. This is a trip to today, because one of the first things I said to your dad this morning when we're sitting out there early is today is like a circle of life.
Oh, yeah.
because he's gone, and then Jesse
She's about to have this
is
baby.
about to have a baby. Any moment we could get a call that there's a new baby just came into the world. It's
That
Mhm.
close.
circle of life is
The wheel is
Trip.
turning and you can't slow it down. I kept thinking that
Yeah.
all day today.
How about the wheel in the sky keeps on turning? I don't know where I'll be tomorrow.
That too.
yeah.
I love you, Sid.
Love you, baby.
I love you
I'm
guys.
proud of you, sweetheart. Thank you for doing this with us. It was
Yeah.
perfect.
Perfect timing.
I can't wait to re-listen to this podcast.
Me too, baby.
Talk to you soon, baby. Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.
Love you. Wow. I'm glad Sid was in on this.
That was
Perfect.
Couldn't have been timed any better.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
That was
What do you got to say, Apple, over there?
that was just that Sid called because it's the same thing. See,
Why are you crying, big sissy?
it's just the things you think. I just picture I picture her as a little baby and how
God,
your
dude.
dad.
He doted over
he
her
was-
so much.
He was so stoked when Mel and I got married, and Sydney was there. It was
From
like
the second he saw her, he loved her.
yeah, that was
it
his granddaughter day one.
immediately. And the fact
and
that
she
they
lit
shared
up.
their birthdays together was such a big thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That.
And his
and
dad's
she
name
would
was
light
Sydney.
up. I just remember her lighting. Every time I had to do is mention his name. You guys living around the corner too. I remember that when I watched him a few times. Like I had to take him. I had to walk him over there because I wanted to see Grandpa. And just the look on the Simons too. Always. You mention Grandpa, and they'd be like, sit up taller and straighter and get a smile and be like, "We're going to see Grandpa."
They'd always get like money or swords or candy or
gun.
costumes.
Yeah,
or,
you didn't get no bullshit or hard
No.
time or fucking like, oh, I want to go home. You had fun.
Oh, Grandpa's house was a blast, man. Dogs and fucking guns and
freaking. They had
craziness.
what is that little bridge over the pool and like an indoor pool and
He was a you know what he was a grand adventure. He
Yeah.
went-
Yeah.
Everything I ever did with you, with him, working for him, vacations, it was an adventure. You never knew it was going to happen, but you knew it was going to fucking be awesome.
I'm carrying that shit on.
yeah. I feel like that with you, baby.
I'm carrying that. That part of that is mine. Fuck
Better
that.
work
Like,
on it.
I'm taking that.
We were working on you'll fart in a bottle.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
We've been
but
so
just
bored.
standing still at concerts. Oh yeah, this is cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
whatever, man.
Oh man.
Thanks for doing this with us, you guys.
Yeah.
I love you.
Thanks.
And this is real and raw and trippy, and more texts are coming in, but I love you. And I appreciate all you out there for listening and for being part of our family and for going through this and tripping out with us and being sad with us and being happy. And
Feel free to reach out, guys, if you feel compelled, if you feel you want to share something, or if you have something to say to us that you feel like would help or anything, like, feel free. Like, I know it's a weird thing when someone dies and it's you don't know what to say. You're like, I'm sorry, but like you didn't do it, so you shouldn't be sorry, but you don't want to explain like that's not what I meant. And like there's like a weird thing sometimes with death, and like I personally am inviting anybody who may have that to like put that aside and just feel it like with us. Like I know sometimes maybe listening back, crying probably doesn't sound the best in your ear hole, but
And nasally.
yeah, and then
but it
being
is-
nasal,
it's
but like this
honest.
is it's just raw and honest, and I just encourage everybody to feel their raw honesty and reach out if you feel compelled. And I appreciate the platform that I have to be able to heal myself from a really sad, sad event in my life, sad milestone.
yeah.
And I love that was a thank you all for listening and being here for us. But thank you, Mel, for doing that, because I felt the same way earlier. What you said, it was like we
Yeah.
need to do something special. All of us were on board. One of our first thoughts was we need to do this for ourselves and for our listeners. This is what we do. We share ourselves. We're honest. We're open. We love all you guys. We love each other. This is important. And it's awesome to have this platform.
I want to say to, for all of you that have commented on Instagram, that's not little to me. That's a huge deal. If you took that 25 seconds to type out whatever you typed out, believe me that the feeling of that came through.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like I could do this. Like I could sit down and talk to you guys. It made me feel like it mattered and that you guys are out there and that you're feeling it. And it's really, really special. And the texts that I've gotten today from the No Simple Road family mean so much. And I just appreciate all of you guys. And thank you. And next week we'll be back with more. And with Barber from the Biscuits and all that, but we are in this right now, and we're not going to front. So this is what you get. So if anybody has anything else to say, if anything, anybody good?
No,
I'm gonna
just
yeah, like I guess just thanks, guys. I guess our year end will be next week.
Yeah.
We'll have
A
a year-end
recap,
recap
yeah.
prior to
Barber.
Barber from the Disco Biscuits. And thank you guys. Just that's it. Thanks for being the family. Thanks for listening. I love you
you guys.
guys.
So
What is a city without its music?
The legacy of the New York Philharmonic
Is incredible. Nearly 2 centuries of history. That's a lot of music and a lot of stories.
I was sitting on stage for the very first time thinking, I can't quite believe this is happening.
Join me, Jamie Bernstein, as we explore the history of the New York Philharmonic. It's the NY Phil story made in New York, a podcast about a city, its people, and their orchestra. Listen wherever you get podcasts.
without further ado, we're going to give you my dad,
the superconductor.
the superconductor in all his glory. And if everybody out there, if you're into it, if you feel like it, light a candle for my dad so that he can find his way wherever he's at. Light it up for him. We love you guys.
Love you.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present my dad, Jerry Schafer. Ryder, I know for a fact that will not be the last time you hit the table. Today. Okay. We'll go with that. We'll go with
the next
today.
little bit.
Yeah.
Bare
All right,
minimum
guys.
for the next little bit.
Steel your minds. Prepare your souls.
Oh no.
This is gonna be fun.
This is going to be a fucking trip. So,
No one saw this one coming.
this is all Melanie. Thanks, babe.
Okay.
And
If you can get.
I'm honestly saying thank you.
No, I know, but I'm saying if you can get people to interview, so can I, and so can anybody here. So this is my contribution to the No Simple Road podcast.
But I think Aaron's probably right. You asking
Was a big deal.
with him is especially
Yeah.
a big deal. Aaron asking, he would have been, I don't know.
This is my dad, guys. This is the spawn that, or not the spawn.
You're the
this
spawn.
is this is the nexus that spawned me. So here we go. Oh man, I just got nervous. Talk to my own fucking dad.
This one I understand.
Oh, he's gonna give me so much
Oh,
shit.
we're gonna find out some dirt about Aaron, probably.
Hey, hi, Aaron.
Hey, Pop, what's up?
No, how you doing?
I'm good. Hang on a second. Let me fix all the things that need to be fixed. Give me a second. Are you there?
I think so.
Yeah, it's not working out. Hang on a sec.
I think so.
All right. How about now? Can I hear you okay?
Well, I hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
That sounds great.
That sounds actually really
We hear
good.
you. It sounds great, Jerry.
All right. Hi, Dad.
Is that you, Jimmy?
Yep, this is Jimmy.
How
Apple.
are you, Jimmy?
I am good. How are you today?
Good, good.
Hey, Dad, I'm here too.
Okay, baby, good.
I'm here too.
All right.
So we got all four of us. We got have your attention now.
Okay.
Well, I first want to say thanks for agreeing to do this, Dad. I called you the other day and I said, hey, Dad, I need a favor. And you said, anything you want. And you've always been like that. And I love you for it. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. You know, the older you get, honey, the better you get, unless you're a banana.
I guess that's true. So, Dad, before we called you to do this, like, I was just thinking, like, all the shit that you went through with me and my brothers, like, what a fucking crazy nightmare.
Yes, it was.
I'm a dad now, and I don't know how the hell I would deal with that. How did you deal with that? Like, you had 3 crazy sons that...
I can answer your question for you, okay?
Yeah.
The same boiling water that softens the potato also hardens an egg. It's about what you're made of, not the circumstances.
Oh my God.
Wow. Holy shit.
That was heavy. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Dad. That's incredible. And that's exactly that, what you said right there. We could stop the podcast right now and let everybody else listen to that over and over. It's stuff like that you've said throughout my years of being married to Aaron that has given me so much respect for you and so much love for you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You know, wow.
You know, you're living in a town that I know a little bit about. They have some of the craziest laws in the United States in Portland, Oregon.
Like what?
In Portland, Oregon, a priest or a minister is not allowed to perform a wedding ceremony at a skating rink.
All right.
Okay.
I know things like that other people don't know. And what I just told you happens to be the truth.
Wow. I guess Melanie and I won't let Sydney get married in a skating rink here.
Not if they want to get married by a pastor.
Dad, like you said just now, you know things that other people don't know. Well, I know stuff about you that other people don't know that are listening to this. And why don't you tell them, like, how you got started? How did you get started in entertainment and all that?
Well, I got started in entertainment in the 1950s. I had come out of the service. I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I met a fellow named Billy Murphy, who was an actor. And we became friends. And he talked me into writing a television pilot, which I didn't even know what a pilot was. I thought it was a guy that flew an airplane. But then I found out what it was. And I had no idea that I would be able to even write such a thing. But I did it.
So you had never written anything before that?
No, I had never written anything before that for movies or television. I had written articles for periodicals, but never on a consistent kind of a basis. I just did it.
What did Billy Murphy? So what did Billy Murphy see or think that you had that could do it?
I don't know. He thought that I had the ability to do it. He didn't even know me, but for some reason he just knew I was the guy that could do it, and I did it. It was amazing.
What was the pilot?
It was called The Legend of Billy the Kid.
Okay.
It was the first full-color television Western ever made for television.
What the fuck? Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
In the 1950s.
Yeah, I made it in 1956.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and before the bullfrogs wore breeches.
So what happened after that? Well, wait.
Well, what happened? Billy introduced me to lots of movie stars and producers and famous people. Everyone knew Billy. Billy marched to the tune of a different drummer.
I remember he was nuts when I knew him. He lived in a cave in Mount Shasta and carried around a porcelain clown doll that was had its face covered, and you weren't allowed to look in its eyes because it was the cosmic Christ clown.
That's right. That's Billy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I remember that guy.
But at the same time, everybody in Hollywood liked him. I mean, look, the guy co-starred with John Wayne in The Sands of Iwo Jima. He did lots of movie work with lots of stars. So he was well liked, and everybody knew him. He introduced me to Marlon Brando and to some of the most famous actors in Hollywood. I was embarrassed. He used to tell people, this is the youngest producer in Hollywood. I'd never produced anything in my life. And he used to embarrass me beyond you couldn't imagine. But he kept doing it and doing it. And finally I finished writing the pilot. I thought it stunk. But I actually was able to get it financed. It was a miracle. Of course, the good Lord has been at my side all the time. Otherwise, I could have never done it.
What do you mean by that, Dad? Because you're not a religious guy. You're Jewish, and we didn't barely ever went to temple. And what do you mean by that?
The last time I was in a temple was 71 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, and I did that for my grandfather. You're right. I'm not religious. I don't like religion. I love God, but I'm not a religious person at all.
And I remember growing up, like, one of my favorite memories is like when we lived in Malibu and you and I would drive down the hill that we lived on and we would go to the Self-Realization Center. And I remember you were really into meditation and Zen.
Yes.
And really into that stuff.
I was in Zen Buddhism for many years. You're right. I still love it. I think it's wonderful. Okay, but I don't look at it like a religion, but I look at it as a way of life, as a way of being. Like, people have asked me recently if I'd write something about this upcoming election. And I don't like religion. I don't like politics. Like, I'm not in favor of religion. But to me, you get all the fools on your side, you can be elected to anything. Based on that, I worry about the next election because I know that the universe contains protons, neurons, electrons, and morons.
That's the truth. That is true.
Yeah. I was telling someone the other day, the world keeps changing. 1 minute it's one way, and the next minute it's 360 degrees different. Like, back in the 1800s, everyone in the West owned a horse. Only rich people could afford a car. Today, everyone owns a car, but only rich people can afford to keep horses.
That's true.
No, it's true. Everything changes. 1 minute it's one thing, and the next minute it's something else.
So, like you said, 1 minute it changes, and then the next minute it's something else. So 1 minute you get out of the service, and the next minute you're the hottest young producer in Hollywood. Like, what did you do with that? Like, when you realized that it's starting to happen for you, what did you do?
I didn't realize it. When it was going on, I had no idea it really was going on. When I made the pilot, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a clue. I had friends at the studio. I had offices at Republic Studios. And Dick Powell, a fellow he started out as a singer-dancer, then he became a movie star, and then he became the head of a thing called 4-Star Productions at Republic Studios. And he kind of took me under his wing. So I had offices at Republic Studios, but I was a young guy. I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. And I hung around with stars. I was having lunch every day with Robert Taylor, who was starring in the detective series, and Nikki Adams, who was starring in some series I can't remember the name of it. Oh, the Rebel. And Steve McQueen, who was doing Wanted Dead or Alive. And Chuck Connors, who became a very close friend of mine, who was doing The Rifleman.
I remember Chuck.
all those shows were produced at Republic Studios. So I became friends with all those people, and I learned a lot about the business from them. And one thing leads to another. I've always been one that believes that people that lose their jobs usually lose them because of their mouth, because they talk too much.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know. I don't know that I should go into that in this conversation. Your audience might think I'm nuts.
Dad, you know who I am. So
They already think we're nuts.
Yeah, it's fine. You can say whatever you want here.
Or not.
Okay, well, you just ask me and I'll answer. How about that?
Well, I mean, it's weird for me talking to you like this because I know all the inside shit. You know what I mean? I was there for I've been there for 46 years of it. But before that, I wasn't like it. I used to, when I was a little kid, I thought you were a cowboy. Like, I didn't know what the fuck you did.
I was a cowboy. Remember that. That's what I did when I was a kid. I worked on ranches and I shucked out stalls. I had the worst jobs that you could get on a ranch. I was a stable boy. But that's how I learned about horses.
And then once you got in,
became a stuntman. Yeah.
Once you got into the business, you started doing stunts. Like, what are some of the projects you did stunts on?
Well, mostly westerns. I did a lot of horse stuff and saddle falls and things like that.
Getting dragged behind a fucking horse.
Yeah. But again, that was back in the 1950s and early 60s when stuntmen didn't even get billed in the movies. Not at all. But, I mean, I never thought about getting billed. I only was interested in making the money.
So, Jerry, did you ever have like an agenda? Like, okay, so you start meeting all these movie stars and all of that stuff. And like, was it? Was money just the agenda? Or did you want to be famous? Or did you want to have your name known? Like, what was your thoughts back then?
Well, it's the same as they are today. The only place I'm interested in seeing my name appear is after the words "pay to the order of."
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it's the truth. When I was at the studio, I did a lot of, this, Aaron. I ghost wrote for lots of people. And somebody, they put other people's names on what I did. But I didn't care because I wanted to make the money. That's all I cared about. When I came to Las Vegas, I moved to Las Vegas. Well, I did The Legend of Billy the Kid. I shot in Las Vegas. I shot in the Valley of Fire and parts of it in Searchlight, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And I became fascinated with the Las Vegas Strip, which in those early days, there were only 12 hotels in Las Vegas. Now there's 58 hotels in Las Vegas.
There was only 12?
12 hotels when I first came here.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like just like almost like a ghost town.
What year was that, Jerry?
1956.
Okay.
Wow. So, Dad, like, you go and you're shooting a pilot.
Yeah.
And then you find this place and you're enamored with it. And like normal fucking people don't typically move there and become the most famous guy in the city. Like,
well, I'll tell you how it happened.
Yeah,
okay?
please, yeah.
When I was driving back from the Valley of Fire, when we finished our shooting, there was a hotel in those days that was very wonderful, called the Stardust. And they had a show called the Lido di Paris.
I remember that.
I had never seen a live show in my life. I never saw anything like that. So I went in to see the show. And it just blew me away. I thought, my God, it was unbelievable. gorgeous, beautiful showgirls with feathers and rhinestones and foreign acts from all over the world and sets and water curtains and you name it, and a big orchestra. I was just amazed by it, and I thought to myself, I can do that. I didn't know how, but I just knew I could do it. But I never knew how I could do it or if I'd get a chance to do it. And then I left that hotel, and I was hungry, and I went to the Sands Hotel, where they had a sign up that they had a Chinese restaurant, and I love Chinese food, so I went there. And there was a huge line to get in. And when I finally got up to the maitre d', he said to me, well, would you mind sharing the table with someone else? I said, no, I don't care. I didn't give a damn. So I sat down, and they put a guy with me at the table. And we introduced ourselves. You know, I'm Jerry. He said, I'm Renee. His name was Renee DeHaven.
Mm-hmm.
You remember him, Aaron?
Yeah, Dad. He was with me my whole life.
Okay. He said to me, what do you do? And I said, I'm a producer. I said, I just produced my first a television pilot. And he said, oh, I'm a choreographer. I didn't even know what a choreographer was, Aaron. I said, oh, that's nice. So, yeah, he said, I used to work with Gene Kelly and some of the great dancers in Hollywood. So then I knew he was a dancer. And he said to me, will you let me read your cards? I didn't know what the hell he was talking. I said, what do you mean? And he took out a deck of cards out of his pocket, a little small deck of cards.
I remember this. This from being a kid, he would do it every time he came to the house.
Yeah, well, this is amazing. And he said, well, you know, I'd like to I tell your fortune by reading the cards. And I thought, he was a little light in the loafers, but I didn't care. I wanted to go ahead and see what he was going to do. So he read these cards, and he said to me, Jerry, he said, in a 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 months, you're going to become the entertainment director of a Las Vegas hotel. And I thought the guy was nuts. So I said, I'll tell you what, Renee, if I become the entertainment director of a hotel, I'm going to hire you to be my choreographer. And 3 weeks later, I got hired to be the entertainment director of a hotel.
Which one, Jerry?
Yeah, which hotel? Yeah, which hotel and how?
The Hacienda Hotel, it was called.
I remember.
And it was owned by a guy named Doc Bailey.
Okay.
And he was up at the Valley of Fire watching me shoot Billy the Kid.
Oh, shit.
But I didn't know who he was. It was just, there was a lot of people watching. I didn't know who the hell he was. And then when I was in the Sands, they paged me. They used to page you. Paging Mr. Sound. And I pick up the phone. It was him. He said, when you get through, come to the Hacienda. I'd like to talk to you. I didn't know who the hell he was. Anyway, that's how it happened. So I called Renee. And hired him. And Aaron, you know, he worked for me for at least 30 years.
I mean, he was basically part of our family. He was my uncle, basically.
He was one of the most wonderful guys I ever knew. Talented beyond belief.
What a weird thing. Like, I'm thinking back to all the little stuff. And, I mean, no wonder I turned out the way I did, being raised by you, you know? Guys are at the house reading cards. There's Hell's Angels over. There's, you know, we're going and meditating in gardens and cops and all kinds of crazy shit going on. Like, it was never normal. Hey, this is Dad, and he gets up at 8 o'clock in the morning and goes to the office. He comes home at 5 and he has a martini, and it was never like that. You were always like hustling.
Moving.
You know, Aaron, somebody asked me the other day, where did you take your last vacation? I've never had a vacation in my life.
No, the only times we traveled, you were working.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't have a vacation. I don't know. I mean, once I went to Hawaii to have a vacation, and I ended up writing a movie and producing it.
So,
You're
Dad,
laughing, but you were on location. I took you there.
I
when I
know.
made that movie.
I remember
Yeah.
I was there too. I remember that trip. That was a great trip.
Yeah.
You know,
I think didn't I take your friend Jimmy with you?
that was Jimmy that just said that.
Yeah, that was me saying I went along too. Yeah, I remember being there for 3 weeks in 1987.
Yeah, until Aaron told me that if I didn't send him home, he'd kill himself.
Little asshole.
Yeah, I remember that. He was 16 and he was being a butthole.
You guys had such a shitty room overlooking the ocean in beautiful Hawaii in a suite that was beyond belief. Wasn't good enough.
I loved it, Jerry, just so you know that. And I remember you might, I don't know if you've heard this one too, but I was going to go play tennis with Marianne one day. And Aaron looked at me and he goes, if you go play tennis with her, I'm never going to be your friend again. And I remember he was so crabby because of his girlfriend at the time was Stephanie. And he didn't care about anything. Hawaii sucked. Everything sucked.
Yeah.
And I had a great time. Thank you again, Jerry.
That's funny. Well, just remember what I said at the beginning of this conversation. The older you get, the better you get, unless you're a banana.
That's true.
Well, I'm glad I'm an apple.
But Dad, I mean, again, so it's very strange to hear you say it like this, because it sounds like when we talk to musicians, a lot of the time I'll ask them, like, did you think, or did you always want to be a musician? Did you always want to be a star and all that stuff? And a lot of the time the answer is, I don't think I could have done anything else. I never felt like I could do anything else. And like, it was just meant to be. It really seems like that with you. Like, it was just, that was what was happening. The people around you saw it and were making it happen. And then you did the work. So my dad's name is Jerry. So it goes really well with the sponsor of the show this month, Ben and Jerry's. It's so cool. Yeah. The holidays are right around the corner, guys. And you're going to get all those fish fans that have everything some ice cream because you listen to No Simple Road and Ben and Jerry's sponsoring us. Ben and Jerry collaborated with Fish and the Water Wheel Foundation to create a limited flavor. It's ice cream. A caramel malt ice cream with almond toffee pieces, fudge fish, and a caramel swirl. Caramel swirl, caramel swirl, whatever. Caramel. You know what I'm saying. Don't try and act like you don't know what I mean, because you know what I mean. Packaging and a very, with like all caps, very limited t-shirt were designed by Jim Pollock, and a portion of the proceeds for the ice cream and all the proceeds for the teas are donated to the Water Wheel Foundation.
Woo, Water
The
Wheel.
Water Wheel is kick-ass. The ice cream and the teas can be ordered at store.benjerry.com. And if you use the promo code OSIRIS, OSIRIS, you get free shipping on all orders over $50. For the rest of 2018, I said orders like that because for some reason I want to say odors. But it's not an odor that you're ordering.
I'm sure the ice cream has an amazing odor.
Yeah, it smells like caramel malt.
That'd be an aroma.
So I'm thinking if you had some whiskey and you poured a little whiskey on the caramel malt ice cream, just a little bit, just for the whiskey flavor. Oh, anyway. Wow, my head just exploded.
Back to delicious ice cream. Let me just point out, you do not need to be a fish fan to order this.
No.
You can be an any kind of fan.
But
you can be an ice cream fan.
You can be an ice cream fan.
You are a fish fan. There's also a special Curveball Fish Food Water Wheel tea that was created for canceled Curveball. And you can purchase that at store.benjerry.com. Yep. Yeah. Store.benjerry.com and use the promo code OSIRIS for orders. Get free shipping for your order over $50.
Yay.
Yeah.
Now back to Jerry Schafer.
Back to ice cream.
Oh, no, my dad.
Yeah, but you know, Aaron, the bottom line is really, it's God Almighty. It's really the bottom line. No matter what you think, that's who's been. I wrote a book called In the Shadow of a Rainbow, because that's what I felt like I've been in most of my life, especially when I was on top of the world. I mean, at one time here in Las Vegas, I was Mr. Who's Who. I mean, today I'm Mr. Who's He.
What do you mean you were Mr. Who's Who?
Well, I was producing shows in 5 Las Vegas hotels at the same time. My name was on 5 marquees. It was unbelievable. No one's ever done that, but ever yet. And so I could have pretty much anything I wanted, but I never wanted anything. I mean, I was producing the biggest stars in the world.
Like who?
Like Judy Garland. And believe me, when you walk on the stage with Judy Garland, you better have your shit together, okay? I mean, that woman was at that time the most famous female star in the world. And there I was being able to produce and direct her in Las Vegas. I mean, in the entertainment capital of the world. And we became great friends. I know you know that.
Yeah.
In fact, Judy gave me a bracelet that I never take off, that I have on while I'm talking to you right now.
I know the bracelet says your name on it.
Yep. She gave that to me in 1963. I've never taken it off.
Was that
except when I go to? Huh?
Was that at the Thunderbird?
Yes, that's where we did it.
So you ended up working for the boys at the Thunderbird, then, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
How did you find out that it was them you were working for?
Well, I mean, I didn't really realize it at the beginning. When they hired me to be the entertainment director, I just assumed they wanted me because I had done a good job at another hotel, and I wanted to leave. I left the hotel because I want to go back to Hollywood and make movies, television. And then anyway, when I went there, a couple of people came and visited with me and told me they'd like me to come back to Las Vegas and take a look around at their hotel, and I did. And it was fascinating. My cousin was a pit boss at the Sahara Hotel, and my dad, made me feel comfortable. He said, you got 2 cousins there. One's the pit boss at the Sahara Hotel, and the other one's a pit boss at the Dunes Hotel. So I thought I had family here, okay? Yeah. I never hung out with those guys. I knew them, but I was just a kid. I didn't know what they know. Anyway, I got my contract, and I started doing the shows. And then one day, one of the pit bosses came to me and said, I went to the hotel and told them that I wanted to produce a show, a musical variety show, in the afternoon. And they said, what are you, out of your mind? People don't go to the show in the afternoon. They go at night. And I said, well, I want to produce a show in the afternoon, and I think it'll fill the theater. And I said, if you let me do it, I said, I'll put up the money. And let it run for a week. If it fails, get rid of it. It won't cost you anything. And the owner of the hotel laughed at me. He said, and what happens if it's a hit? And I said, well, then if it's a hit, I told him how much money I wanted a week. And he said, kid, you got a deal. So in 1964, I produced the first afternoon show in the history of Las Vegas. It was called Speaking of Girls, and it ran for 140 weeks. Wow. It was the biggest hit the city ever saw. And then I could have anything I wanted. And that's when they called me into a meeting, and I realized who owned the hotel. I didn't have anything to do with those people. I just did the entertainment.
Right.
But they were the owners of the hotel. And then one day the head owner came to Las Vegas, and he met with me. And I was a little bit concerned because he had a reputation that was pretty frightening. But we just talked about show business and no problem. And then years later, in 1968, I wanted to leave. Although I had produced all the stars and these musical variety shows, I was doing all the hotels for Del Webb. I wanted to go back to Hollywood. I wanted to kind of try to internationalize myself. I didn't want to be a star or anything like that, but I was bored. So I wrote a resignation to the hotel, and a very respectful resignation. And I made it 6 months up. That in 6 months I would leave on my birthday, which is the 4th of July.
Right.
And then a few months later, I was called to an executive meeting at the Sahara Hotel. And the chief of security for the Del Webb said, you better watch yourself, whatever you say in this meeting. I said, what are you talking about? I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Then I went into the meeting, and there was a huge desk there, a conference table, and it was dark. They had it was just a red light on, and it was like in the movies. And I didn't know any of the people at the table. None of them. I knew none of them.
Right.
But they were guys that, they didn't have any necks. Anyway, there was a guy sitting way down at the head of the table, a gray-haired little guy. I didn't know who he was either. And there was no place for me to sit. I just stood there like a bump on a log. And this little guy picked up a paper, and he said, I see you put in your resignation, kid. He said, have you been being paid? I said, yes, sir. He said, has somebody been disrespectful to you? I said, no. He said, I see. He got up, and he walked all the way down this table. Now he was standing right in front of me. He was a little guy. I mean, maybe 5'2" or 3. And he said, if you try to leave us, I'm going to make you part of the highway from here to Los Angeles. And he spit on me. And I just stood there I was frozen. And then he went back and sat down. And I just turned around and walked out. I didn't know who he was.
Right.
And then the chief of security saw me. He said, Jesus, what happened? I guess I was white. I don't know. I said, that little guy in there told me he's gonna kill me if I try to leave. He said, you better not try to leave. I said, who is that little prick? And then he told me it was Meyer Lansky. And I thought, Jesus Christ, I just couldn't. So of course I did. I stayed. And
yeah, of course you stayed. Thank God.
Yeah, well, you bet.
I wouldn't be here.
So that's how I really knew who I was working for. And then I never had any problems after that of any kind. And finally, I asked if I could leave a year later, and they said okay. And because they had sold the hotel,
right? Del
Webb sold the hotel to a mysterious company called Lance Incorporated. Guess who that was?
Oh shit!
Yeah. So anyway, I that's when I decided. I had decided before that I don't know why, Aaron, but I decided that I wanted to go to London, England, and do a show there.
Mm-hmm.
I had never been to England in my life, but I had money now. I never had to pay for anything during all the time I worked in Las Vegas. I lived in a suite in the hotel, and I signed for food and for my laundry or anything I wanted. I didn't have to pay for anything.
Right.
They wouldn't allow me to have a car. I wasn't allowed to have a car. If I wanted to go out on a date or something like that, I'd use the company car, but I wasn't allowed to have a car. So I had quite a bit of cash. And I went to Los Angeles, and I told my mom and dad I was going to go to England. My dad said, well, good luck, whatever you're planning to do. He knew that how I was, and I was going to give something a try. I didn't know what. And I went to Pan American and got on a Pan Am jet and flew to London.
Had you met my mom yet?
No.
Okay.
And then when I was and then on the way there, I started thinking, Jesus, I don't know a soul in England. I don't even know how to get started. And then I checked into the London Hilton. And the first day there, I was sitting on the balcony of my room, looking out over Hyde Park through the fog. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to start. So then I thought, wait a minute, I got an idea. So I got the phone book and I looked for theatrical agents, knowing that agents know everybody. They know the business. So I picked out a name, called the guy on the phone. I told him who I was. I was from Las Vegas, that I had formerly produced Sammy Davis and Milton Berle and Jack Benny. I told him all the stars I'd produced. And he invited me to come to his office. And I took a taxi and went to his office. And we had a great meeting. His name was Gordon Harbour. And it turned out he was a very high-level AAA agent. He represented a lot of big stars in England. And he took a fancy to me. And I told him the truth. I said, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to do a show on the West End. And I don't know what the West End even looks like. So he had a chauffeur. He took me and we went down the West End, and he pointed out the different theaters, the Adelphi and the different theaters that were on the West End of London. And I was really excited. And then I thought, I'm going to have to write a show to put in one of these. So I went and I saw a few shows, how they did the Broadway shows there. And then I went home. I went to Los Angeles. I had a house in, I didn't tell you, I had a house in Las Vegas, but I wasn't allowed to live in it. But now
okay.
I wasn't contracted to them anymore, so I could live in my house. So I went to my house in Las Vegas. I was very lonely. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to write. And I wrote a musical comedy. You know that.
Yeah.
And it was the first musical comedy I'd ever written. And I wrote 22 songs to go in the show. And I got Shorty Rogers to do the music. And instead of doing it in London, the guys from the Del Webb came to me. They knew I was there. Said they want to see you at the hotel.
Oh,
shit. They said, we want you to do that show here. And I said, there's never been a Broadway show that made a world premiere in Las Vegas. I don't think it'll work. They said, we don't care what you think. We want you to do it, and we'll put up the money. And I said, this is going to be very expensive. This is 1967, Aaron.
Okay.
And how much is it going to cost? That it's going to cost $2.5 million.
It's a lot of money.
I don't know what that would be today. Today, maybe $25 million. They said, go ahead, do it. Carte blanche, do it. So I did that musical, That Certain Girl. And I got Virginia Mayo, who was a very famous female singer, dancer, actress, who had starred with James Cagney in White Heat. I got Dennis O'Keefe, who was a fabulous star, who did the FBI story of the movie. I got Walter Slezak, who won the Tony on Broadway for Fanny. I've had big stars in this show. And I did it. And I just, Aaron, for me, it's been one thing after the other. The minute that show opened, all I could think of was, what am I going to do next?
I wonder what that is.
I don't know. Instead of enjoying it, the house was filled to capacity. People loved it. It didn't mean anything to me. I just wondered what I would do next. It's awful, but that's
So,
the way it's always been.
Did you didn't have anybody at this point, Jerry? You weren't married when
No.
you did that? Okay.
No, that's when I met Gorilla.
Okay.
Can you elaborate
Okay.
on that one?
And
Ganilla is my brother's mom, and she was Nurse Goodbody on Hee Haw back in the day.
Oh, okay. I remember hearing this.
She's a very nice girl. I originally met her when I produced Jack Benny. She was in the Jack Benny show in a comedy routine with 3 women called the Guire Sisters, a takeoff on the McGuire Sisters, but a big fat lady and a skinny lady and Ganilla who was pretty. And they were called the Guire Sisters.
Okay.
And Jack Benny, anyway, that's why I originally met her. Anyway, that's the answer to that question. But anyway.
Well, I just only because you said like you're looking for the next thing and all you cared about was money, but I know you from just growing up with you, and you've never, every time you have money you would give it away. And so what is it, that thing that makes you keep wanting to do stuff? Because I mean, yeah, maybe it is money.
I love it. I love doing it, honey. I love it. Look how many books I've written lately. I don't know how many books I got out there now, but I just got another one called The Customer. It's out there right now.
Is that the one that you sent me the other day?
I don't know.
I think you sent. Yeah, I think you sent me a picture of it the other day.
Did I?
Well,
I sent you a picture of another one I did called
The Movie Maker.
I can't remember. I can't remember.
Well,
the name
I got The Movie Maker. I'm in the middle
all
of.
right. There was The Movie Maker. There was The Customer. There was Old Timers Day.
Yes, I have Old Timers Day.
Yeah, there was that book I wrote about Marianne,
Yeah,
Angel in My Pocket.
Mm-hmm,
And I just finished writing another book now that I'm going to submit to the publisher next week. So that's it. All I do is write. I'm very reclusive now. I can't do what I used to do. I'm just an old fart, and I sit home and write and put out these books. You can't make any money with books, you know. People don't read anymore.
No, that's true.
You know, Dad, you brought something up, and I want to ask you about it. Like, when you met my mom, you had already been married 3 times. And
No, I wasn't married. I lived with Aaron. There's a big difference.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You had.
Okay, so how many?
Yeah. How many times were you married before you met my mom?
2.
Okay. And
one of the 2, I was only married for 5 weeks. I mean, you can't really count.
no, that doesn't count. That's
That's
a trial run. But I know from growing up, being your kid, like Marianne was the love of your life.
Without a doubt.
What was different about her than the other women that you were with that made that so special for you?
What was different about her was one, her incredible intelligence. She, as you know, she spoke, read, and write 5 languages. She was very smart and gorgeous. She was a beautiful woman.
She was really beautiful.
And she was very talented. She just was a marvelous human being. And she loved you. Oh my God, when you were a little boy, I kept her away from you a lot. I shouldn't have. She wanted to one time take you to get ice cream, and I was afraid to let her take you in the car. I didn't want trust anything with you. I was very protective of you. But anyway, she just she was, I don't know how I could put this. She was, for me, she was a friend.
Oh.
She was very inspirational for me. She really inspired me to do a lot of things. I did 73 television specials when I was married to her, Aaron, and 3 major motion pictures.
Yeah,
How
I know.
many people have done that? I mean, it's unbelievable. Okay? And I would do them a lot of times just to give her something to do. And she was so smart. I would write a script. She would take it and read it one time and hand it to me. Say, okay. And she already knew every word. One time, she knew it all. Unbelievable.
Damn.
And I'm talking about something that's like 121 pages. She got it all at one time, reading one time. She's a very bright girl and very ambitious and helped me. Was by my side all the time. It wouldn't let anybody take advantage of me. And she did things for me, like she made us that scrapbook. I would never do that. I didn't give a shit about myself. But she made a scrapbook of that red book. She made that. I would never have had that without her.
That book had every single thing that you've ever done in entertainment, every award that you've ever won, every accolade that you've ever got, any news article, anything written about you. It was all in that book.
I don't know how she did it. It was, Aaron, and I don't know how she did it, but she did it. She found that kind of stuff. It's like that. It's like the joke I told you about the library the other day. In those days, in the very beginning, computers were just starting. So when you wanted to know something, you had to go to the library to get the information.
Right.
She found out information about me. I forgot. She found shows I did. I forgot I did them.
That's crazy.
That's about her.
Do you still have the book, Dad?
Sorry?
Do you still have the book?
Yes.
Wow.
I thought I gave Aaron one, but
no.
I have one. I have one for you.
Okay.
If I ever see you again, I'll give it to you.
That's the Jewish dad right there.
Well, Dad, I had a reason that I wanted you to be on the show today, because Dad, we're getting ready to be grandparents, and when I was growing up, both my grandparents died while I was pretty young, so I didn't get to have a relationship like Sydney and Simon have with you. And I know even we've talked, and you said that you never got to spend time with your grandpa like Simon and Sid has done. And so I think that our kids are extremely unique to have you and my mom and, Grammy, all of you, and Ping for that matter. But I just wanted to hear from you what it's been like to be a grandpa, because you've been such an amazing role model for me and Aaron in that department.
Well, I mean, Simon meant me and still today, but he's meant so much to me since, I remember the day you brought him home from the hospital. I remember I held him.
You were there.
In front of I was there. That's right.
You drove us home.
I mean, the kid was, as he was growing up, he used to bring him to my house. He'd come and hug me and stay with me. And then all of a sudden he went through a period where he wouldn't talk to me. It was unbelievable. Remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Just amazing. That was at the time, Aaron, I'll never forget it, when we went to that restaurant. We were having breakfast, and he was in one of those baby high chairs. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden his face turned red. And you said, "Simon, did you shit in your pants?" He said, "Yeah." And you said, "I'm going to take you outside and clean you up." He said, "Let me sit here and enjoy it."
That's my boy.
I got hysterical. I'd never laughed so hard. Anyway, the kid's always meant a lot to me. I loved being with him and seeing him grow up. And I tried to always give him things, little things. I gave him a lot of shit. I mean, just a lot of little things.
Yeah,
like it doesn't matter what it was, like a samurai sword or a cowboy hat or binoculars or whatever. I always gave him a lot of stuff, and then I don't know, maybe he threw it all away. I don't know.
Actually, no, I've got possession of them all now.
Well, anyway, and Sydney, I mean, she's just been the biggest doll I've ever known. I mean, when she was a little girl, I remember she used to take care of Simon.
Yeah.
When she was just a little girl. She's always been a doll. I love Sydney. She's fantastic. She just, I want everything to be good for her. I really do. Anybody connected with her better do the right thing or look out for me. That's all I got to say.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and the rest of us. You know, you've been
That I know.
You've been a huge inspiration to her, Dad. Like what she learned from you, she really took it and used it. Yeah. And what she knows of your life from what I've told her and what you've told her and what she's seen growing up, she's really taken that and used it to make her own way.
Yeah, she's a terrific girl. She really is. I wish I could have, if I would have been in Hollywood at the time, I could have done more. But at least in the beginning, she went to Bobby Chance, and that was a beginning. It was, you have to begin somewhere, and at least I got to make that introduction, and that worked. And then, you know, when I can't call the agents, all my agent friends are all in the same place now. It's called Forest Lawn.
Well, I mean, how old are you? You're 85 years old, right?
No, I'm 84.
Oh, sorry. I added a year. I mean, that's no small feat. 84 years old.
84 is it's very hard. I can only tell you, Aaron, that face in the mirror is much older than me.
Oh wow, that's great. I know what you mean, but I don't know what you mean. I understand it only from looking at a 46-year-old face in the mirror and seeing that my head is way different than 46.
Yeah. Well, you learned a lot from me when you were a little boy. I used to take you to my meetings, and you'd sit and, you know, when I'd be doing deals to make a movie for $14 million, and you'd sit there and listen. It didn't say anything. You'd listen, and you absorbed, and you were very good at that. So I think that helped you in your life.
Dad, that's another thing. I was listening back to one of our earlier episodes, like a week ago or so, and I was listening to Aaron, and in that moment, like whatever he was talking about at the time, I had like this flash, like he just sounded so much, he just sounded so much like you. And it came to the realization to me at that moment that he created a show just like his dad, and all the talents that he watched over those years, like you said, he absorbed them and is finally doing something with them. Not finally, that's not true, but like in this way. And it's just really cool to see that what you've done has inspired a lot of who and what Aaron is doing now.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. You know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
It doesn't. True. I was just, this is Jimmy. I was just going to say too, what you have passed on definitely to Aaron that I've seen Jerry. He has such a way of writing and a way of conducting these interviews and stuff that is, we always mess around. We always call it the Aaron show because he's the conductor, producer of all this. We hang out, and it's just amazing to see what he's done, and also to see what you've done. And I've been along on a lot of those rides, and it's been wonderful. You guys mean a lot to me, and I thank you for bringing this boy into the world.
Well, are you kidding? Your family. And someday I think it's going to dawn on him that you have an exceptionally different voice, and it should be used in whatever he can use it in. Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful.
Thanks, Dad.
Here, okay.
Yeah. You know, when Mel said that to me the other day, she told me what she just told you about, you know, look what you're doing. You're doing what your dad would do. You made a show, and you know, you write, and you're using all the stuff that you learned growing up with him and all that. And it's more than that though, Dad. It's a lot of things, like the way that we live up here, how we all live together in the same house, and the way I feel about money, and all of that is from you. When I grew up, it was rarely just us in the house. There was always people around. There was, your friend Dick Shane and his brother Choya and some homeless guy that you met that had a dog that we took in, that you took with us to Colorado when we lived in Colorado. And, people always in our lives and you always treated them like family.
Well, I'm glad to know that I'm good. I'm glad to hear that I did that. And I remember that guy. I remember that's where we got Banner.
Yeah, his name was Khan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I let him use my motorcycle while we were gone, and he wrecked it. Little bastard. I remember that.
Yeah, that's not normal, man. That's not normal, Dad. It was always uncommon. My life has always been not normal ever since being a kid.
I would say the proper adjective would be extraordinary.
Yeah.
I think that you've really lived an extraordinary life on how you raised all those boys, how you've done so many shows, how you've been able to love, so many women, and in a good way. Like, you brought these amazing men to this world. And I don't know, I really love you. And I'm so grateful that even in the absence of my dad, you stepped up and became my dad. And it's just really cool. You're an amazing.
You better know I'm your dad.
I know it.
You better know
I
it.
know it.
Yeah, Dad. It's. I don't know.
How long, Aaron, do these shows of yours run?
We're good.
As long
as we want.
And it plays all the time that we've been talking?
Well, nobody's hearing it right now. It's being recorded right now, and then I edit it and post it on the internet, and then people can listen to it. Anytime. It's like, how you have on demand on your TV?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Do you know how many people listen to your thing?
Yeah, I do. I'll tell you off the air. I'll tell you when we're not recording it.
All right.
What do you want to, Dad?
Yeah,
do you want to talk about stuff? Like,
I'm interested about one story we brushed over. I thought we were going to get there because I've never heard this from Aaron or you or anything. You're talking about how you met Aaron's mother, because it's another thing. When I became friends with Aaron when he was like 13, I remember him saying, to me, you were kind of a cowboy too. You were the fastest draw in the world in the Guinness Book of World Records. A lot of other interesting facts. And then he hid from me for almost a year because I never had met his mom and stuff, that they were like, circus folk. And it's just, I'm just wondering how that came about, how you met her.
Well, all right. Well, a hotel opened in Las Vegas called the Circus. And the owner of that hotel, a fellow named Jay Sarno, came to me and asked me if I would produce a show for the main showroom in that hotel. It was called the Hippodrome Theater. So when he opened the Circus, there was this big, huge 1,000-seat theater. And he came to me to produce the show for it, which I did. And while I was there doing rehearsals and everything, the circus acts were performing out in the arena, out in the casino. And the Flying Cabarettas were one of the acts.
What year was this, Jerry?
It was in the 1970s, I think.
Well, I was born in 71, so it had to be 69 or 70.
Oh, well, maybe it was 69. I mean, boy, that's a harder thing to remember.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, but I don't like to not remember. I can't remember the exact date.
That's fine.
I can't remember. But anyway, Sarno came to me. I produced the show, and that's when I met Candy Cabaretta. I met the Cabaretta family, Vince, and all her sisters. And we became friends. We dated a little bit. And then I went to England. And when I was in England, she called me and said, I want to come and join you. I said, what? She said, I want to come and join you in London. And I thought I couldn't. I said, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
But she came to London, and then we were together.
Wow. Well, I'm glad she called.
Yeah.
I'm really glad she called.
Jimmy, that's how I met her, Jimmy.
Okay, I was just wondering. That's a story I hadn't heard.
Well, that's the way it happens. They were performing at the Circus, that flying act.
Yeah.
It was a great act, a wonderful act.
Yeah, they were pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, Jay Sarno and Stanley Mallon, they came after me to do the show.
Well,
and I did it.
I mean,
was the show?
Yeah, how'd that turn out?
That was 1968. I remember. It was 1968.
There it is.
That's what I remember.
Perfect.
So, Dad,
and I did the show. And after it opened, Jay came to me and said, "I'm going to close the showroom." I said, "What the hell are you talking about? We've only been open a week." He said, "Yeah, but I can make more money putting slot machines in there."
Yeah.
He paid me off.
And that was that.
I went to England. I went back to London and put the show on in England.
Bucket.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, again, in those days, their money was no object. And I would get money from people I didn't even ask for. They would come and give it to me to get a piece of whatever I was doing.
Wow, I want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to have a history of success.
Yeah, true.
That's why they did it, because they saw the shit that I did that worked out. So then that worked out for them. Yeah.
What are you working on now, Dad?
Well, I just finished another book, and I'm writing a screenplay now for a company in Chicago. A true story.
About what?
This one's exciting. I'm excited
No,
to hear about this one.
It's an incredible, incredible story. It's about a guy he was born in the hell's the name of that guy?
Africa.
Well, and it was a country in Africa. It was in I'm so tired from it. I can't even think straight. He was born in Jesus Christ, I can't remember where the hell he was born.
Zimbabwe, Uganda.
No.
Namibia.
Shit.
Shit, Africa.
Shit, Africa. Okay. Anyway.
He was anyway. I started writing the screenplay 7 weeks ago, and I call it Out of the Dust. It's one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard of in my life, and this guy was born in Northeast Africa, and he from abject poverty. He came from a little village where they had like no schools. It was just horrible. And when you grew up there, you raised goats. That's what you did. You took care of the goats. And he was different. He didn't want to do that. So his name is Daniel Lefebo. And anyway, the place he's from is called Ethiopia.
Okay.
And when he in that culture, children do not ask questions. They're not allowed to ask questions.
I'd have been fun.
And he was very inquisitive. He wanted to know. He was excited by how the trees were growing, and nature excited him. And his parents used to beat the shit out of him when he kept asking questions, and he wanted to go to school. And the school was a 6-hour walk from where he lived, and it cost money to go to the school, and he didn't have any money. So he ran away from home, and he climbed up on top of the highest tree in the village. And his parents and his brothers and sisters started looking for him. And then people in the village, and they looked all day. They couldn't find him. And finally, that evening, they spotted him way up high, 30 or 40 feet in the air in this tree. And he told them, if you won't let me go to school, I'm going to just jump out of the tree and kill myself. So his oldest brother said, all right, if you come down, I'll give you the money to go to school. So he came down, and his oldest brother took him. They had to walk 6 hours to get to the school. The oldest brother paid the deposit. When the kid was in the first grade, he learned to speak English and read English. He's very smart. And he went through school. He went through grammar school. While he was in grammar school, the Communist Party came in, the Derg, it was called. And they killed 100,000 people. They just murdered men, women, and children. And they took him and all the kids in his school, he was 15 years old, and put him in jail. Then they put him in a trial, and they sentenced him to be burned at the stake.
Jesus.
And they took him to this place where they tie people to the stake to burn them alive. And just before they tied him up, a lieutenant in the Derg said, I got a better idea. We can get more mileage if we take him to the public square and hang him. So they took him away from the where they were going to burn him, and they took him to the public square where they were going to hang him. But for some reason, the captain said, no, let's really get some mileage out of this. Let's tie him to some kind of heavy stuff and drown him in the lake and let everybody watch. So now they took him to drown him. Well, can you imagine what was going through this kid's mind?
Jesus
They're going
Christ.
to first burning, then hanging, out of the drowning. And before they were going to drown him, they locked him in a cell. And he got down on his hands, and he never heard of God, incidentally. You should know that. He didn't know what God was. And he got down on his hands and knees. He didn't know why. And one of the guards handed him a book, and it was the Satanic Bible. And he read that, and he just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. He then hated God, and all he could think about was being in league with the devil. And when they found that out, they decided they weren't going to kill him. They liked that. They liked him to be that way. Okay? And then as time went by, now he's 16 years old, still in custody. They let him go outside the cell where there were a bunch of trees. And he got on his knees again in the trees. And suddenly he had a vision. And Jesus Christ and God Almighty and Archangel someone came to him. He actually saw them. And the devil was there. And the devil told God, you can't have him because he's with me. And God said to the devil, no, he isn't. He's with me. And the devil left. And then all of a sudden Daniel knew that the reason he hasn't been killed all this time was because God saved him. Well, I can only tell you that today, Daniel is a preacher from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He's been all over the world preaching, like Elmer Gantry. And he's unbelievable. So I'm calling this movie Out of the Dust to the Throne of God.
Holy shit.
And that's what I'm writing now. That's what I'm writing now.
Wow, that's a hell of a story, man. That's a
Yeah,
trip.
I just gave you a quickie, but it's some story. Let me tell you, it's some story.
How did you end up with that job doing that?
The production company in Chicago, I had done a show for them in 2000. And the producer called me and asked me, said, we've got a true story here. I've been supporting this guy, Daniel Lefebo. And if I send it to you, will you look at it? And he sent it to me, and I looked at it. And he called me, and he said, Jerry, you're the guy that's got to write this. I don't know how. I just want to know, will you do it? So we made a deal, and I started to do it.
Right on. I've seen you get a call like that and write an entire Las Vegas show in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Or a script for an entire feature-length movie in 2 days.
Yeah. This is going to take time because Daniel wrote copious notes for me about everything that happened to him, and he doesn't speak perfect English, so it's very difficult for me to transcribe what he's writing. I talk to him on the phone every once in a while. He lives in St. Louis, Missouri, and the producers are in Chicago. So, I mean, it's been an interesting project, and I'm only in my 7th week, and it's very difficult to write. Like I said, in fact, I've only got 35 pages done, Aaron. It's that hard.
Wow. Yeah, it must be hard if you've only got 35 done.
Yeah, but it's going to be some movie, let me tell you.
I'm excited. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah. I'll send it to my daughter.
Send it to my secretary.
When my screenplay is done, yeah.
All right, Pop. Well, I love you, Dad.
And I love you guys, all of you.
Thank
and
you so much for being on the show, Dad. Spending an
I
afternoon with us.
hope it was good enough for you guys.
Good enough.
It was great. Yeah. I love personally hearing these stories, and I know there's so many more that you have growing up in that time. Vegas is a special place to grow up, and you lived through the time of all the
heyday.
50s, the 60s, the 70s. It's it's not what it was now, but those times.
Well, Jimmy, you're right, Jimmy. It's in my day. It was the entertainment capital. Today, it's the nightclub capital.
Yeah, and all the history. That's the sad part. All those places like the Dunes and area, the Rat Pack, all the history is gone. None of it was preserved.
They're what I call ghosts of the desert.
Hey, Dad, do you know that they redid the Thunderbird in Vegas?
Some little hotel somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a piece of shit down the strip. It's nothing like the Thunderbird. Not the Thunderbird I was at.
Yeah. Isn't the Thunderbird where that's where Elvis played a lot too, wasn't it?
No, he played the International Hilton.
The International, okay.
It was right behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You have possession of stuff that nobody has about Las Vegas.
I do. I shot a video of almost every hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. I have it. It's real history. When I'm dead, hopefully Aaron will come and get it, and it could be worth a fortune of money as time goes by. And I hope that he'll come and take this stuff and do something with it. All the stuff I've written so much.
I'd rather have you around.
Well, it can't be too much longer. But we'll see.
You never know, Dad. You never know.
No, you never know.
You were, just hanging out. You became one of the most famous producers in the history of Las Vegas. So you never know what can happen.
Now you're going to be a great grandpa.
Yeah, great grandpa.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that little Sydney's baby.
Oh.
I'm going to be a grandpa, Dad.
Isn't that unbelievable?
It is a trip to
fucking
see.
Insane.
Then I told you about your brother Mark, didn't I?
No.
You told me.
You told Mel.
Yeah. He had his knee replaced, the whole knee replaced. And 2 days later, he walked up a flight of stairs.
That's my brother.
Boy, is he a tough son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
He really is a good guy. He really,
Well,
he's
Dad,
got, 2 daughters, and both of his daughters have children. And they're both school teachers, both musicians. One of them was in the Marine Corps. She was in the president's own band, which is the biggest band you could be in the military.
wow.
And they're unbelievable musicians. Those are your cousins.
Yep.
So
And-
they're very talented people.
And your great grandkids.
Yeah, and I've met a couple of them. One of my granddaughter came here and brought 2 of those boys here, and I got to meet them. They're very smart. One of them is 6 years old, and he can tell you the name of every president of the United States and the order in which they were president and what year they were inaugurated.
He's got me beat.
Yep.
6 years old.
do
He
about
knows all
one.
that shit. Very smart.
Wow.
Very smart. Yeah.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I love you, Pop. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, you guys, have a good time there.
Love you.
Love you, Dad.
And go home where you can't even pump your own goddamn gas.
We're pampered.
And just remember, you can't get married in a skating rink either.
I'll remember.
Not by a priest.
In case it ever comes up.
Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you soon, Pop.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. That was a trip. We're still recording.
That was rad.
That
was awesome.
I
Your
think-
dad has so many stories. Those were just a couple more.
Oh my gosh.
Some you hadn't heard.
Yeah, we didn't even get
We
into
didn't even
any of this
scratch
shit
the
with-
surface.
Any of the stuff with like me and my brothers robbing him and like all the crazy shit that went on and
No,
You know what? We got to actually meet Dad, though. We got to hear a lot of his history, and that's really awesome.
I'd never heard the story about how him and
my mom,
my grandma got together.
So
I thought we were heading there. That's why I had to back up at least to that one. I wanted to ask him several other.
well, we have you to thank for that one, babe.
Well,
thanks, Mel.
I wanted to do that
And
because
Jerry.
for a lot of reasons, but we've been kind of like on that kick of like recording for ourselves for later. And I thought, what a great
family
thing it would be to have this. And also, Aaron's dad's rad and amazing. Aaron's dad, my dad, our dad, he's amazing. He's done so much stuff. But like, you guys heard what he said in his first sentence out the gate was like just profound. And he's been like that.
Boiling water. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all just went.
For real. So I don't know. I wanted that. I wanted to have that for us, as our family. And I think that everybody listening would appreciate that. Thinking about your grandpa, talking about how he grew up, and his talents. And
he's got so many interesting things that he's done in his life.
Yeah.
And what Aaron pointed out too, that's something that I've always gotten from Jerry is he treats everybody with kindness, and me. He put up a lot with me and Aaron and he was always like a very gracious friend and father to me.
Always
made
super
me feel
generous.
comfortable.
Always giving
was
shit
fun,
away.
And, he's always jovial and fun and has a good joke and lives
even
life.
when he's like not feeling good, he's still a sweetheart.
I've like legitimately seen him pissed off.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 5 times in my whole life. Probably 3 of them were with me. And he's a fucking scary dude when he's pissed, man. He's super scary. But like you said, 99.9% of the time, he was just happy. And I don't know. Just as I'm getting older, I'm realizing what effect he had on me and who I am and how I grew up and how special it was and what a rad opportunity to be his kid and to see all that happening. And like, it was just normal. Like all that shit you hear him saying, like Oh yeah, Judy Garland and Jack Benny and Sammy Davis Jr. and blah blah. Like it was just normal, everyday shit. Like I said, like those people at the house and Hell's Angels hanging out and musicians coming over and parties and Hollywood stuff. And he was never like, I don't know. We were never like in that world, but it always came around us. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it just, like I said, it was never common. It was never normal. Even going to school wasn't normal. Like I never went to the same school twice until I got into junior high school. Because we were always moving because he had a show somewhere and we were living in a hotel or, on the road somewhere. So I guess it makes sense that we're doing this now. It seems logical when you put all the pieces together looking back. Makes sense.
And again, I just got to say, it's no simple road.
That's again, why I wanted Dad on for that.
Around.
Like I just, while we're doing it, I don't want to miss it. You know what I mean? Because it's everybody always says, gosh, life went by like that. And he said it himself, looking at that face. It's a lot older than who he is. Like,
yeah.
I see our life doing all these amazing flips and turns and little secret passageways and coming out into these rainbows on top of hilltops and top of, dragons and all these amazing things. And I don't want to miss it. And I see you in a different light, and I see like what's been going on, and him being on the show is a huge part of that. Like it's a full circle.
Yep. So we're going to go have dinner and hang out. Have a nice Sunday evening.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys do the same out there. And
I hope this warmed your heart, because it warmed my heart.
Mine too. Yes. You're learning the Genesis backstory of the No Simple Road family. And if there's a pantheon here, that's like Zeus that you just met. That's Ra.
Odin.
Yeah, more Odin.
Odin.
Yeah, definitely more Odin than Ra. But yeah, guys, take care of each other out there. Give a stranger a smile.
Hug your grandpa and your grandma.
Call your grandma and grandpa if they're around, man.
Mom, your dad.
I haven't heard from you in a long time. They're wondering what's up with you. They think about you all the time.
Yeah, your dad and mom always need a phone call too.
Yep.
That's sad. No, I gotta go call my mom tonight now.
See? Everybody be well. Take care of each other. And we'll be back next week with more. And we love you.
But it's a tad bit of strange similarities that feed an A = A complex. The fears of your past do not equal the perplexities of the current road.
Osiris.
Hey listeners,
I want to tell you about the April-May 2023 issue of Relics magazine. Features a Dave Matthews Band cover story with additional articles and interviews with The National, Graham Nash, Wayne Shorter, ALO, Ivan Neville, our friend Eric Krasno and Stanton Moore, Marty Stewart, and much more. Check out the latest version of Relics and subscribe now at relics.com/DMB. Thanks, Relics.
Hi, this is Paul Phelps.
And this is Monica Strutt.
And we're from the Daily Music Business Podcast. We're joined by a number of other really great hosts in creating daily content with great advice for independent musicians just like you.
That's right. We put out episodes daily on all topics from music marketing to branding, advice on signing with a manager and label, and anything else you need to up-level the business side of your music career. We've got it covered.
Subscribe to the Daily Music Business Podcast today on your favorite podcast catcher.
Subscribe today to the Daily Music Business Podcast on your favorite podcast platform.